One of the tropes against the Jewish people is our association with money. The fact is that even as 22% of all Nobel Prize winners are Jews, the the Nobel Prize for economics is 40% Jewish, and so on and so forth. Different areas we see the success of the Jewish people financially. The six of the top 20 richest people in the world are Jewish, and things of that nature. And this begins actually in the Torah, in association with going out of Egypt. No less than 4 times does Hashem tell the Jewish people, when you leave Egypt, you're going to leave with tremendous amount of possessions. And it's funny that it says it so many times. First of all, it says it when God tells Abraham about the fact that the Jews will be slaves in a land that isn't theirs for 400 years. He says, and afterwards they will go out with great possessions. When God reveals himself to Moses at the burning bush a year before the Exodus, he says that when they will go out, they won't go out empty-handed. They're going to borrow gold and silver and garments from their Egyptian overlords and take it out with them. And then right before, the day before going out of Egypt, God says to Moses, tell the Jews to go borrow gold and silver and garments. And then afterwards, when they actually leave, it says they went out and they emptied out Egypt. They took out everything from Egypt. And the question is, why such a focus on this? There's a story in the Talmud when Alexander the Great took over the Middle East. So he, I guess similar to Trump, wanted to settle all the fights and all the issues that there were amongst the countries in the Middle East. So he had a whole summit, if you'd like, and the leaders of Egypt came along and said to him, hey, the Jews, it says in their Bible that they borrowed the gold and silver and we never got it back. You know, as a joke, it said that God tells the Jewish people not to go back to Egypt. The way to make sure not to go back is you borrow all this money from the Egyptians, and for sure you're not going to go back. But they said, hey, they didn't give it back. So the Chachamim, the sages, didn't know how to answer him. But there's a fellow called Gvir ben Sissa, and he says, let me deal with him. We'll deal with him. So he comes and he says, it says that we were slaves in Egypt for 400 years. Okay, you want to pay the labor costs of all these slaves for 400 years? That'll come out to a lot more than the gold and silver we took. And they ran away. So what's the idea behind it? So it's not only, there's number one, there's the concept that Egypt had to be punished, and you're punished by taking away your possessions. In addition, there had to be the reward given to the Jews for having to go through such a terrible ordeal. But there was a significance that not only did it fall in our lap, not only did we get these possessions, but we had to actually go to the Egyptian and ask for it, and they would give it to us. And the reason for it is, the Rebbe explains, that there has to be a sense, not only that I need the money for something, but the self-respect that comes with getting paid for something you've done. We know that in workers, there's one thing is to get paid so they have how to feed their family. But there's other thing is that people have to feel a sense of self-respect and valued. You have sports players who they get 10 million, not 15 million. They say I'm undervalued. I'm not being respected. In their sphere of influence, that's maybe the case. So, in order for us to have the self-respect, the way that came down was that we had to go to the Egyptians, asking for the money, almost as a payment for all the work. They have to look us in the eye and give it to us. And that event, that way of doing things, actually gave the Jewish people back a sense of significance, that they're not just a shmata, not just something to walk over. By the way, we see remarkably with the hostages that are coming out now, the remarkable strength of these kids are unbelievable. Where last week Hamas wanted them to wanted to really put them down, and instead they stood on stage like victors. They wouldn't allow Hamas to get their victory. Something amazing, something remarkable in the strength of these young people. And today we've learned that Adam Berger writes in the elevator, in the helicopter on their way back to Israel. She writes, "I came in faith and I left in faith." The faith, and she kept Shabbos and kosher and Pesach and Yom Kippur and so on, blessings and prayers. The faith that she showed gave her a sense of significance. They couldn't take that away from her. That's something she was able to hold on to the entire time. It's a remarkable thought. The incredible strength of character, and a remarkable thought that they were able to do that. So that's why Hashem tells the Jewish people they have to ask the Egyptians for the money to give us a sense of worth, of value. Now, there's further explanation to why Jews are so connected to the finances, but that's for another time. Shabbos.